大家下午好。感谢诸位来到中国昆山数字娱乐节领袖峰会的现场。接下来，让我们继续欣赏精彩的内容。首先进入巅峰对话环节。本场第一轮巅峰对话的主题为“全球大格局，出海新思路”。首先有请巅峰对话主持人 Vectr Ventures 副总裁 Tony Zander。Welcome。对话嘉宾 Ruby Studios 首席咨询官 Robin Kiera。育碧手游大中华区发行副总裁 Aurelien Palasse。Welcome Tapjoy 大客户总监 Shen。IP Media CEO Vectr。Welcome。
Hello everybody, hope you had a good lunch. So I'd like to start off if everybody could introduce themselves, tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
I'm from Hamburg, not the Hamburg weather, the rainy Hamburg weather. Most importantly to know about me is that I'm not spent all my professional life in the gaming industry, but I have a traditional background like medical, technical industry and insurance industry. And until recently I worked for Good Game Studios, focusing on reorganization, process optimization, and soon I will join a traditional company again that will heavily invest in digitalization. That's why I'm here in Kunshan, to look for inspiration, but also partners that help us along.
Hello everybody, my name is Aurelien. I work for a company called Ubisoft. We are video game developers and publisher. We come from the console business, and we opened 5 years ago the mobile division, more focused on all mobile or set-top box, Android TV, etc. We have developed some of the most famous video game IP, like Assassin's Creed, The Rabbids, or Division, Tom Clancy, Prince of Persia, and so on. And we are turning all this IP into mobile also, and this is my scope and my responsibility for everything which is touching mobile, iOS, or Google.
Hello everyone, I'm Sandy from Tapjoy, and Tapjoy is a global advertising platform. We have a lot of partners in China and also overseas. And we have the headquarters based in San Francisco. Most of our partners is brand advertisers and also game developers. So nice to meet you everyone here. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sliwka. I'm the CEO of International Business Media. International Business Media is based in Singapore and it's a consulting company. We are, I think, 20 plus years in the games industry, mostly in the consulting area. So we work with clients. They want to leave their home markets and go to east or to the west.
Okay, great. So basically we're going to be talking about publishing stories. So if everyone could possibly talk a little bit about some stories or something from your specific home region.
Let me start. So, what happened this year in Germany is quite interesting because until today, the top 25 developers in Germany have laid off 10% of the workforce. So, there are a lot of people that say, well, is the German gaming industry actually in crisis? And I say no, out of two reasons. First, you have had these cycles of very high successful companies and then the top and the failing every 5 years actually in Germany. So you have 2000, 2005, 2010 and now 2016. Okay, it's 6 years, but you know, almost 5 years. And it's normal, don't worry. And another thing is what we have seen is that from the ecosystem, from the people that worked in these companies, new companies arose. So, for example, in Hamburg there are several new gaming companies founded right now. There are people going into e-commerce that really use their skills they learned from working at game companies that laid off. So actually the motto of this conference here in Kunshan is, keep calm, and I think even if you have headlines that say game industry is in crisis, keep calm. It's normal, it happens, and exciting things come out of it.
What's the question, Tony, exactly? Sorry.
Just trying to get stories from, we have everyone here is from a different market generally. Just like to see if there's any similarities or what's the big major differences.
Oh, you mean between China and the West?
Or just in general, we've got Germany, you can speak on someone in China.
Okay, so Ubisoft is a global publisher, right? We have 26 offices around the world and we publish everywhere. It's very straightforward. If you want to publish a game in the West, you talk to Google, Apple, and then you have user acquisition. And of course the game has to work for everybody, so localization. In China is a bit different, the market is more fragmented, so we need to do a lot of more works in terms of development. So every game has to be changed and localized for every platforms which has different needs and recommendations and different bidding system. So on that point of view, it's more work and it's what we do here. Publishing story, concrete keys. I think the best example we have in China is a game called Hungry Shark. The game has been released in the West 5 years ago, which reached around 250 million downloads, so it's a very huge and strong mobile game. We released it in China 1 year ago, so 3 years after the worldwide launch, and we still reached 70 million downloads. So I think this is a point, is the Chinese market at some point, even if the game is good, you can bring it afterward. Sometimes it's not necessary to rush it, just take time to make a good localization, focus on your market, which is the Western market, and then you can bring it and being successful.
As I just introduced, Tapjoy is also a global company, and actually we do not do publishing ourselves because we do not have ourselves games to publish globally, but actually we help a lot of partners to publish their games overseas and also in China. And Ubisoft is also one of our big partners. And I think for the publishing in different markets, I have to say that from my perspective, a lot of Chinese game developers want to publish their games overseas, but there are a lot of problems you have to face with because we have the different culture with overseas companies, and actually our time for develop a game is too short. Because in Japan, I know that they usually spend about 2 years for a game, but in China, the average time for a game is about 6 months to 1 year. So the quality of our games, and also their there is a lot of difficulties to for these companies to know better about their users. So I think there are so many problems for our local Chinese publishers to deal with for them to go overseas.
So I think what we tell our clients, which come from our long-time experiences, is one sentence. We every time tell our clients, if they're planning to go to another market, they want to leave the home market, is in your home market you are the king, you are very successful, but outside of your home market you're a newcomer, you're not known, and this is something you have to know and you have to respect. And on this point we work with our clients, and this is all about business plan. It's about distribution partner, it's about publishing partner. It's one thing. The other thing what we learn and what we see and what we observe is that a lot of companies going without really good plans into other markets. They earn a lot of money. After that, they come to us and ask about support. And that's what we every time telling clients, before you go, this is really the learnings, before you go, really plan very carefully and maybe think twice about what you are doing before you move forward to other markets.
I think it's one of the difference between, for developers, I don't know if there's game developers here, But what we noticed is when you talk to the third parties or the channels, stores in the West, Google and Apple to mention them, they are maybe more consumer-centric. So what matters is the quality of the games. So that's why you need more time to develop it. What matters is what's your marketing breakthrough, what's your new cool gameplay feature. So this is going to be very important. In China, the tendency with the channel is more KPI driven. So I think that's probably also why the developers here rush, because the criteria of what is a good game is different. So the rating system for the West or here is totally different. You can have a game which has a very not good Metacritic aspect, but a super strong monetization, and it's what the local channels are looking for. In the Western, they are not. We are looking for a game that have a real marketing breakthrough and a soul. So I do believe the local developers that are still making a lot of money here are also stressed by this KPI-driven based selection process. So I mean, that may explain it why. That's my understanding.
Sure. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper on what Sandy and Frank were talking about. The challenges of going into those new markets. What some solutions people can have.
You mean to the new market, right?
Correct. Like let's say Chinese developers are trying to publish in the West.
I think for firstly you have to do some research for the new market, right? You have to know what kind of games do the users really play and what kind of games they like. Firstly, you have to do the research for the new market, and secondly, the best suggestion I can give is that you should learn from those who have already did something successfully in these markets. For example, if we want to publish your games in US, maybe you have to learn something from those American developers to see how they are doing in their local market. So that's what you can learn from them. And thirdly, you have to check your own games and what resources you have already had now for this market. Maybe you have a good team, but maybe your game is not very suitable for this market. Then you have to consider if you will really publish your game in this new market. Because maybe West market is very good for some publishers, but it is not your right market. So you have to double check if your game is really suitable to publisher in this new market. And the fourth step is to see how you can plan your business in the new market. And I think the last step is to check, to learn, and to change your plan before the execution.
Maybe to add one thing, but I think it's quite interesting what we see in the gaming industry, where companies grow strong in their home market and try to expand. You have this with Western companies and with companies from here. This already happened in other industries like decades ago, in other circumstances, and so it's not comparable. But I think maybe there are also lessons learned from best practices from going from one market to another from other industries, because I know the Chinese companies there are a lot that have gone already successfully to other markets, and maybe also there are some lessons learned there and expertise in the country.
If we talk, and this is from my Western perspective and from my observation, of Chinese companies going overseas, that means they go first in the countries around China. So to go to the West is a third step. So we have a second step here. And if a Chinese company is doing that, they almost need developing countries. And the speed of the development in these countries is much not so fast like in China for the mobile games. And I think this is one point which the companies have to respect, that around China is a lot of developing countries, and if they go to developed countries and the Western, it's another challenge. So you have to have at least two business strategies for that.
Okay, thank you. So we've seen a lot of success stories happen, similar, like, let's say, Supercell. Do any of you have some insights on why they're successful and they can keep repeating the model?
I think Supercell has the same approach as Ubisoft. When we talk about game, we do believe that game is a multinational cross-border media. So when at Ubisoft we develop a game, we don't develop a game for US or for Europe or for China, we develop it for the world. And if you look at the best example of a successful story, it's like a movie. A good movie is good everywhere. It's like a piece of art. It's a piece of art everywhere. And I think Supercell is making their game on that way. They don't try to segment by different countries. But this is a strategy. Some developers are really doing country per country. They launch the games 10 times per year in Asia, in Europe, and even in Europe we do Germany, French, Italy, right? Month 1, month 2, month 3. And it's working too. There's no good or wrong on that. It's just a strategy that you have to make sure. And I think Supercell, like Ubisoft, is a global company and they directly aim for global product. So it's a mentality, and it's a development process also, because it means you need to do more concession. When you think about your games, you have to think it globally from the beginning. So it's probably why. But Supercell, you know, they have these famous games right now, but also fail with a lot of other games. So the free-to-play business model is still like a fail and repeat business model. It's not like the premium games that we know at Ubisoft or EA to know how to do a big hit every time. On free-to-play, you still need to reiterate, and actually failing is a natural process, and it's something you have to learn from it. It's normal. So all the developers here that have a game that is not working, keep up. It means you're going there.
I think there's something in their DNA or organizational structure that might help them succeed.
Well, if I would know the secret, you know, I might found a gaming company myself. But I have a theory. What I found quite striking is that we have the global gaming market, which is growing by a 1-digit percentage each year. I think we will hit 100 billion next year. And so we have a growing market, but we have only few free-to-play players that are actually able to repeat their success stories. And Supercell is like one of the best examples. And yeah, what I'm asking, what I find quite striking is that they have a very, very small workforce. And I think I heard that they have a very few fluctuation of employees. And yeah, I think there has to be not only the knowledge of the people, but also in the organizational setup some secret sauce. And maybe it's on the relying of few people and not to have too much in-house.
As we all know that Supercell is a great company here. We also know that in Chinese game developers, we rarely can find one company with more than two successful games. For the last year, we all talk about Lily's games. I have to do the advertisement for them here because they just had a publishing meeting maybe last month to publish their new game this year. They told me that they will break the rule that Chinese company will never have the second successful game. So I think for Supercell case, the most important thing in there is that they insist that they will do the best games, and And for their marketing side or publishing side, I think they will find the local partners to cooperate with them in local market. For example, in China, I think they cooperate with now actually the Tencent, because Tencent have acquired them half of this company. I mean, all the company really okay. So Tencent has acquired them, but before that, they have the cooperation with Tencent to do the marketing and publishing in China.
I think it was Kunlun.
Kunlun. Okay.
But you're right, but it's also because you cannot do it yourself by legal restriction.
Yeah, and China market is really a very complicated market. But I think the strategy for them to cooperate with local company is a very good strategy.
Frank?
I only think I can summarize that, but Supercell, they had a global vision, they had a lot of business people behind, they had strong investors, and what they did is for their core markets, they searched for already successful partners. They have already a success story, like Tencent in Asia or in China. So I think they did everything on a very high level, and obviously they did it in the right way.
I think also we do kill games, so let's repeat that, but it's important that it's a part of the process. They do kill a lot of game every year, so we just don't hear about it, but there's plenty of games in soft launch from Supercell that are killed. And that's part of their process. At Ubisoft it's more difficult.
Yeah, but when you see other free-to-play companies also do a lot of soft launches of games and kill them after some period of time when they see certain KPIs are not there. So what I really find is the qualitative difference that Supercell is capable of repeating success, and not only with a remake of a game, but with totally new game mechanics, a different sort of monetization, and I think this is the question I ask myself all the time too: where does this different quality come from? Because other free-to-play companies are also killing a lot of games. So, and yeah, you never know if the game you're working on right now is the next hit, or you need to kill it and then have the hit. But you know, I think what you said is the message is keep on trying, because it's also the secret of success a little bit of companies like Supercell. Just keep on trying.
So if the idea of iterating and killing games is part of the success story, how do small indie developers adopt that model?
I don't have the secret recipe, but my advice will be: don't take the killing a game is not a failure. It's like life. Falling is not a problem as long as you stand up, right? So it's exactly the same philosophy in free-to-play. So I know you don't have a lot of fun when you're indie developers and everything, but as soon as you have your core loop gameplay working, make a try of it. If it's not working, just immediately change to something else. Don't stick to something. But it's difficult, but sometimes I think I've heard a couple of developers doing that. They have a kind of small playgroup test with their kids or their people around. They make them try. If the people don't play it again the day after, it's still an early demo. We just change to something else. So it may be one solution. Don't stick too much to something which is not working from the beginning, from the first prototype.
From the publisher's perspective, what do you think is the main differences between building a freemium service game over a premium, like a box console game?
First, on mobile, we have a premium business. I want to remind that Assassin's Creed Identity is one of the first, it's on the top 20 premium game on iOS, and our first market is China. So there's really a way to do premium in China. The difference, I think, between premium, mobile or whatever, VR console, And free to play, I think it's the packaging. It's like you need to create the desire, not to download but to buy before. So it's really about the quality of your assets, the quality of your positioning, more than the retention of your game itself. Of course, the game has to be good because the premium business market is still controlled by the critics. So if the critics are not pleased, it will be more difficult to get sales success. But I would say it's going to be more on the packaging itself, despite the quality of the product. So your assets, your traders, your positioning has to be right. On mobile, well, if your monetization and retention is good, you will figure it out. You will have time for it, because it's a long run. The curve is totally different. The premium is starting very high, and immediately after 1 or 2 months, the sales drop off. Free-to-play is supposed, a good free-to-play game, the curve is supposed to raise up step by step. So you really need to create the momentum.
Well, one thing, what I think is also one difference is the amount you're able to spend in a free-to-play game, which is, and I like the way you said it with packages, which is in some games without limitations. So sometimes you can spend, if you're a whale, like a heavy spending user, you can spend like almost endlessly money, and there are people doing that. And this is the charm of free-to-play. And I totally agree with you that a good free-to-play title, that the cohorts you buy with performance marketing, or you buy, or you get, or you acquire through other channels, that you should do it step by step to see what works, which country works, how, in which channel, what do you need to do there, and to build up the success. Yeah, I think this is a little bit the difference.
There are 2 other points from my perspective. One is the production cost. I think AAA games, premium game, you need much more financial background to do that. I think Ubisoft is able to do that.
Yeah, but yes and no. I mean, no, the new free-to-play game or like Clash of Clans is a bit of money to develop.
Yeah, I think there are some, but if you look, and in general, I think the production costs for AAA games are much higher than for mobile games. That's one thing. And the other thing is the distribution platform. So with the mobile games, you have a lot more opportunities to distribute than maybe with the console games at the moment.
Okay, so monetization. Maybe you guys could share some best practices you've seen, maybe even some pitfalls that you might want to avoid.
Well, I think it's all about what is your core target group. And I'm not talking only about if you target heavy spending user, it's like the economic background, but it's or the spender behavior background, but more what is the social background. For who are you actually aiming? Or where does your core competency as a developer lie? Yeah? Who loves your game? And then really target these people. And I think it's maybe not a big secret, but to really test a lot, to really test with your target audience and not with yourself. Because I mean, if I would make games for myself, they would be all like wargaming tank games, you know. So, but you know, this is not maybe the audience my company is really good at. So really test with your audience, and even if you don't have big budgets, you can find people in forums and you can do stuff there. And then really find, and if you test and you see, okay, you have a churn rate at level 7, let's really think about with the game designer, what can we do that the churn is not so high? Or maybe you want this churn because it's a pay barrier. I think Clash Royale did a lot of changes there compared to Clash of Clans. So really test and make your choices consciously where people churn and what kind of retention you're aiming for.
I think monetization is a big topic, and is probably one of the only one that is where we really at Ubisoft notice the difference between the Chinese user and the rest of the world. I do believe it's matters of demographic, culture, and probably gaming background also. It's a bit of everything. But when we bring a Western game into China, which we do, like we have 8 games running now in China, so we've been through this process. The language and the SDK is okay, but the monetization is always something big. And the difference we noticed, to make it shortcut, it's Chinese users are more used to pay to access to victory or leaderboard. Well, in the West, it's still a bit tricky. You have to hide it a little bit more at the end. So for us, it's really one of the difference. If you do a good game for main markets is China, but like your theme is global, you want to go global, you may have to do some trick on your monetization. And the other way around. The storyline, the graphic, the assets could be global, but the monetization still really needs some trick. And there's a lot of even Chinese developers themselves, like LX with Clash of Kings, very famous example here. When they open up the Chinese server, the Chinese servers into the global ranking, like everybody buys so much items to get on the top that all the Western was pissed off because they were playing since 1 year to get there, and the guys in 2 days was there just by spending money. So here there's a real difference of user behavior. You will always have a small part that are willing to spend a lot to access the ranking, and that can destroy your balance. So you just have to care about that, on my point of view. And on the other side, it's important to have them because they will give you revenue so you can keep investing in your development. So I'm not saying one is good, one is bad. It's just in China, the pay to win is more tolerated than in the West.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And okay, as Tapjoy is an advertising platform, and we provide the advertising monetization for our partners. So I think I will talk more for monetization from the advertising side. Okay, so actually we always suggest our partners to monetize with us because a lot of maybe more than 80 users will not pay for a game. They just play it for free. So we want to monetize these users with advertisements. So we will help our partners to analyze the LTV of your free users and also your paid users, so that you can calculate how much money you can earn from these free users through advertising. So as the famous companies in China, such as ITG and Panelists, is also doing this monetization advertising with us.
Do you notice a difference on the advertising side between Chinese users and Western users, like the duration of advertising, the content, the frequency of advertising, or it's the same? Because on in-app purchase, obviously there's a difference, but on advertising, I'm curious to know if there's a difference.
Oh yeah, actually there is difference between different companies, not even with Chinese companies and Western companies. So they can design the different placements in their games, so that they can choose which type of advertisement and which kind of users they will advertise. Maybe for some companies they will protect the user experience for their paid users, so they will not show the ads for these paid users. But for some companies, they will also show ads to these paid users as a bonus, because through completing some advertising actions, they may earn some bonus in the game.
So we've been talking a lot about what's currently going on or what was happened in the past. I'd like to get some insight on what publishers thinking about the new AR, VR, MR movement.
Well, what we can see downstairs, I think, where a lot of young companies are showing what is going on. I think it's exciting things we can learn from it. And what I want to say is, it will not only be games. It will be medical, it will be insurance, it will be banking, it will be everything. So I think AR, VR is a very exciting thing to come, and I'm very looking forward to it.
Great. Now, like from Ubisoft point of view, we are making game on VR, obviously. So we have 3 games on HD VR. So we have an Eagle Flight that's going to be released on PlayStation VR by 2 weeks now, very soon. The most anticipated PlayStation VR games at the moment. We just announced Star Trek, so a very famous IP, where you can be on the spaceship and doing all the command control VR environment, so that will be very good. And we have another 3rd game, more social, called Werewolf Within. And on the top of it, it's what I personally believe also, the VR mobile is going to get very big with Daydream announced by Google, for example, so you will have more hardware, cheaper headsets, so it could become very massive. So that does not mean everybody will walk with a VR on the street, but everybody will have at least home somewhere VR to access an advertising campaign or a game or an experience. So I think Google and Daydream will have that, and we announced a partnership at the last Google I/O. So we are developing games also on the VR side of the mobile. Personally, I'm a big fan of AR, and I do believe the next generation will be that the hardware, we discussed that just before, the hardware will merge between AR and VR, and there it will be more simple for everybody and all the game developers, because today the VR and the ER for developers is complicated. You have different hardware, different motion control, and stuff like that, so it's very difficult to make one game working everywhere. Plus the distribution platforms are different on top of it. So I do believe in a couple of years it will be more simple for developers to do AR, VR games with one hardware, 1 or 2 distribution platforms, and then the market will naturally grow.
Thank you. Well, it looks like we're running out of time. I want to thank the panelists for giving your honest, open feedback. And any questions, we'll be around the conference. Thank you.